Welcome back to Duda Dojo, where we teach you all things Duda. I'm Harley, and today I'm going to teach you the basics of dynamic pages in the Duda platform. In this tutorial, we're going to cover how to ensure your page design will be compatible with a dynamic setup, how to structure your collections, and how to add new pages. With that, let's get started. So the very first thing you'll notice in this tutorial is that I'm in the Duda platform and that we're previewing what is known as a dynamic page. Now from the front side, you would never know that it's any different, but from the back side, you'll be able to see as I scroll over a lot of these widgets, this funky little double connected ring icon. And essentially that means that everything inside that widget is being controlled by an exterior collection. Now, Duda has multiple ways to create collections. They have an onboard system that's great for simple collections. And then you can also do collections through programs like Airtable and Google Sheets. So today I'm going to break down a Google Sheets collection because that's my favorite. It's easy to use. It's easy to share between team members. If you need to have multiple people working on a collection to create dynamic pages. And I love working with Google Sheets. So we're going to show you a Google Sheets powered collection and what the best use cases are for that. So one of the things that I will cover about dynamic pages in general is that this is great for making pages that are going to look exactly the same, but have different content and imagery within them. So if you want to create multiple pages that look and are organized and laid out the same, but the content within is going to be different, this is where you're going to use your dynamic pages. So in our use case here, we're actually going to be running some Google ads for a client of ours, and they want to target the same service career pilot program in a bunch of different cities around the country, because essentially they want people from these cities to fly up to their location and embark on this career pilot program for 12 months. So we're going to be running Google ads with the same exact landing page, which we've designed here, but we're going to change the content to target different cities around the country. And so our dynamic page system is going to work really well for that. So I've already created a collection, but just for your reference, if you go to content and you go to collections, you'll be able to create a new collection. And if we create one, you can see the internal collection, image collection, Google Sheets, which is what we're using. They've also integrated with a program called Airtable, which is really cool. And then you can also have an external database. If you've got a programmer that's building databases for you on a regular basis, you can also use that. So I'm going to start with our Google Sheets collection, and I already have it opened up here. And essentially what I want to do is kind of walk you through how I structured this collection, because depending on how you organize it, it will make it either a little easier to use or a little more difficult to use. So the way I organize my collections is by looking at the page design. So if I go to my landing page template that I've created in Duda, and you can see by this little kind of stacked cookie deal here, I've actually already converted this page to a dynamic page. So that's the other thing. I would recommend designing your page first as a standard page, and then just going to the settings and converting your page to a dynamic page. That essentially makes it able to talk to these outside systems and allows you to change the content and imagery programmatically. So once you've got your page designed the way you want it in a template format, and then you've converted it to a dynamic page, the next step is to create your collection. And so we'll jump into my Google Sheets collection. One of the things that's really important is you're going to want to make sure that you can share this with everyone. This will make it so that Duda can get into the system and read this collection. Make sure your other team members can get into this collection and read all the information. So make sure you don't have any extra security layered on your collection here if you're using Google Sheets. The first thing we'll talk about is the URL. So obviously every page on a website has to have a URL. And so we're going to designate column A as the URL. I love to do this because we want to know what the URL is for every page. And so we're going to set the URL in column A. And so you can kind of see how a row designates all the information that I want to have within my page. And a column designates what type of information it is. And so when we're talking about columns and rows and widgets, every column in your collection is associated with a specific widget on the back end. You get to choose the names, and then you just have to remember as you're linking all of that information to have the right names go to the right columns. So I like to actually start at the top and work my way down. That helps me create a very easy to read collection. So for instance, I'm designating the URL first. Then my first one is intro header, H1 and H1 subtext. So if I'm looking at my page here, I've got intro header, H1 and H1 subtext. And the very next one is going to be my hero form header. So I've got hero form text or hero form header here, and I'm designating the content within. And then I just work my way down the page. So you don't necessarily have to connect all your data right away, but what you will want to do is come up with your naming conventions so that when you do go back to start linking all of these widgets to data, you have the ability to go line by line when you're on your way through. The other thing I want to mention about these dynamic pages is you'll notice on my dynamic pages, some of the items are connected to data and some of the items are not connected to data, like this widget right here. So the beautiful thing about these dynamic pages is you have the ability to create some custom content while other parts of the page have duplicated content. So for instance, while I may want to be able to change this particular widget and this widget, I want to make sure that this call to action is available on every single page in this section in the same way. So regardless of what the text is, I want to have inquire about flight training sitting right here. And so I've created specific areas on this page that are not connected to data so that I can guarantee that they show up on every page. So the next piece we're going to talk about is simply how to add a new page to your Duda website. So it's really simple, and this is why it's awesome for Google Ads. It's also awesome for doing SEO specific pages. We use this a lot in our SEO strategies to help us create a lot of pages very quickly. It's as simple as creating a new URL and filling in all the text. So we've already got Dallas and Denver. Let's say we want to do, I don't know, Chicago. So we're going to create a new URL, which is Chicago Career Pilot Program. And essentially, you're only going to indicate everything after the .com. So if this is jaflighttraining.com/Chicago Career Pilot Program, so you're going to indicate everything after the .com, and then Duda will do the rest. So we've essentially just established that we're going to have a new page, Chicago Career Pilot Training, and then in order to quickly fill all the content in on this page, because essentially if you don't fill in any of these connected to data pieces, the content's just not going to appear, and we don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and grab all the content that I have assigned as a data point, and we're going to just simply drop it right into a new row, and boom, we've just added all of our content and created an entire third page. The only issue we have is that the third page that we've just created is referencing Denver because that's what all the content states. So to make your life easy, you'll just want to go back through and change the names. I'm gonna make sure I spell Chicago right since I live there. Change the names of all the cities. And realistically, you can make changes as simple as changing the name of a city, or you can also completely rewrite an entire section of content. So I'll go through and change a couple of these away from Denver, and we'll add Chicago back in so you can see what it looks like and how fast it changes. And then let's maybe change a pretty big section. So I think we're gonna do, I don't know, 0 flight experience required. Let's change this guy so I know by clicking on this widget, I can see that it's connected to the text section with the header of H2-1. So if I go back to my collection and I look for H2-1 subtext, H2-1. So for Chicago, right now it says 0 flight experience required. And now we're actually going to say learn to fly fighter jets. Now, I don't know if they actually do fighter jet training. I doubt it, but that's super exciting. It's going to draw a bunch of people to this program. and we're going to add for free, because who wouldn't want to learn to fly a fighter jet for free? I would. So now that we've got our new text sitting right in our collection, all we have to do is come back to our dynamic page, and we want to refresh the data up in this top little section here. You can also refresh the data by going to content, collections, and then I believe there's a refresh data button right here. Yep, hanging out. So refresh data, we can close this, and then we should have our third page, Chicago, showing up here. It's not, so let's try and refresh our page. Sometimes when Duda has to go to space and back to get new content from your collection, it can take a minute. So there we go. I just refreshed the Duda platform, and now I've got Dallas, Denver, Chicago, and we've got Chicago, and then you can see, boom, start a career commercial pilot based in Chicago in just 12 months, become an airline pilot based in Chicago, earning airline pilot wages, and then bang, learn to fly fighter jets. And I totally botched that spelling, but that's okay. I can go back and fix it really easily. So learn to fly fighter jets, and multiple fighter jets is what we want to learn to fly. Learn to fly fighter jets for free. Boom. And then we just refresh our data and learn to fly fighter jets for free. So you can literally iterate through dozens and dozens and dozens of pages using the Google Sheets collection, and changing the content to say whatever you want, changing the images to be whatever you want them to be, in a matter of minutes. So for this particular client, if he comes back and says, hey, I want to run ads in 125 different cities, here are the names of all the cities. All we have to do is go through and create those URLs for all those cities and create the new content with whatever he wants to say, add in the new images if we need to, and boom, we have 125 city pages that we can run ads to. So this is an exceptional product. We love to be able to create pages fast, and they look great. They come with all the same awesome looking information, and all the same awesome features as the regular rest of the Duda platform. They're all editable on the individual devices, just like you would expect. It's just simply a different way to go outside the traditional Duda page limit and create bulk pages that look great and say whatever you want them to say. So with that, thanks so much for joining us. If you're looking for other Duda tutorials, visit our channel below to view our library and leave us a comment about future tutorials you'd like to see. I'm Harley, and this is Duda Dojo. We'll see you next time.